Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of News Round for Anfield Index. It is Friday, the 29th of August, and knowing that it's Friday, we know that Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards love a Friday. They love a Friday deal. And ladies and gents, we might finally just be moving close to what we want. Is it happening? We certainly hope so. You know full well what I'm talking about. We'll detail all the chain of events that led to that. We'll talk about what's coming today. There was draws, there was links, there was transfers, a million and one things going on in the world of the Reds right now. I'm your host, Dave Davis, coming to you from Edinburgh's just one of those okay days. No sign of the sun. Fingers crossed it pops out, and hopefully it's nice wherever you are in the world. But let's get on to it. What is going on with the Reds? What happened yesterday? What are we keeping an eye out, praying for today? Well, we won't really get any answers, but it is important to start with a bit of housekeeping and say that Arne Slot's press conference is at 9 a.m. up at the AXA, which is good because it was Thursday, 2:30 last week ahead of the Newcastle one. But ahead of this Arsenal Super Sunday, we're back into the routine. 9 o'clock this morning, and you know what's happening. He'll do that. I'm not going to talk about players. Of course, he'll get asked about Isak and all that, but just we know what's coming. But this happened yesterday. European royalty gathered together, and after some faffing with the draw for FAs, it's nonsense, that ceremony, isn't it? But anyway, Liverpool know their Champions League opponents. The draw was made, and it was a juicy one. No two ways about it. Liverpool will play the following 8 teams in the Champions League group stage. Real Madrid, and yes, the return of, you know who, at Anfield, that one. Inter Milan, away at the San Siro, or the new stadium if it's built, but the San Siro against the finalists from last season. No easy game. The other Madrid, Atletico Madrid, will visit Anfield as well. People would have liked Julian Alvarez, Diego Simeone's men. I always remember that time when they knocked us out, didn't they? When Adrian was goalkeeping like a hologram. Those 3 games are not going to be easy. And even though Atletico are in pot 2, you know how tough that is. We will then go away for a Hugo Ekitike reunion as we visit Eintracht Frankfurt. Lost a lot of their best players, to be fair, recently. And we did preview, I probably pronounced his name, Can Uzun, I think it is pronounced, the young Turkish forward last night. He was a talent, so he'll be one to watch. PSV then visit Anfield. So that's a reunion for Cody Gakpo this time, and you'd expect 3 points there. Marseille away. De Zerbi's in charge of them, you forget. Thank God, carry a bag are coming to Anfield, because when they were in the draw, the one thing you were hoping is don't have them away because of the sheer I think it's actually someone told me in Asia yesterday as well. I could be wrong on that. Not, don't get me, I've got Atlas with me, but yeah, at home is positive. And then also Galatasaray, who've signed Victor Osimhen, Leroy Sané. Will probably have that famous welcome to hell, and a graft flag will be out for those that know. Will know. Yeah, a real mixed draw for me. You knew we were going to get Real at home for obvious reasons, but still a difficult one. Inter away is difficult. Atletico Madrid, you got them at home, I suppose, but it was still when I looked at it, the best team in pot 2 for me. The rest, I looked down and thought, yeah, decent draw. Probably you just wouldn't have wanted to have gone to Galatasaray away. But you expect the Reds to go through to the knockouts. And then, they're in the lottery, for God's sake, because we finished top last season and we ended up with PSG. And look what happened from there. Arne Slot gave his thoughts on it as well. As it says there, Gabe called it challenging, exciting. But he also said, we knew it would be because in the Champions League, especially with the new format, there's no such thing as an easy draw. This was funny. To be able to welcome Real Madrid to Anfield again is something special. Last season's game, of course, was a memorable one. Too right. And I expect the same this time around. That is, I am sure, a fixture that the whole world will be looking at. And he talked, naturally, it's nice for him being Dutch to have that connection with PSV. But yeah, you think back to that Real Madrid one last season where Conor Bradley absolutely took out Kylian Mbappe. I wonder if he could move into the left wing so we'd tack their right back. I wonder who that could. We will have to see. But an exciting draw all round. So we know what's happening. No dates yet, though. That's it, important to say. So we'll have to wait for that to be confirmed in the order. In terms of other housekeeping about existing players, this was an interesting one that kind of came out of nowhere around 10ish last night. And I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, but Rick Elfrink, a Dutch journalist who has, covered various stories around Liverpool before with Dutch links, said for PSV, the battle with Liverpool will also be a reunion with Cody Gakpo from Eindhoven. The news is he's on the verge of signing a new contract with the British top club. That could happen quite quickly. Gakpo had signed until 2028 after the transfer from PSV. Funny that, because no British, normal patch journo, none of your big names really had it, did they? If it's obviously true, he's the only one mentioning this. We'll have to see. Gakpo will have 2 years left in the summer, and I think he'll be 27, if I'm right. Someone could correct me on that. But, would there be renewal? Just thinking about Diaz, yes, a bit younger than that, but yeah, I wouldn't have plumped him for this. We don't know, obviously, because no one else has mentioned it apart from this guy. We will have to see if there's any truth to this one and what develops. This one definitely has truth. And this one scared me, and I'll explain why at first. Not the actual story, because Romano tweeted that the agreement for Kostas Tsimikas to Roma is now getting closer. Low move until 2026 with salary covered. Tsimikas said yes to the move days ago and pushing for it to happen. So it seems that they've just put the buy option to side to Tsimikas is set to go on loan, it seems, to Roma for the season. I read this wrong at first. Deal seen as close with LFC as Salah Adine leaves soon. I didn't realise that was a Roma player, naturally. So when I first read that, I was like, Salah leave, have I read this? Have I missed something? But there you go. Cody might sign a new contract. Kostas Tsimikas looks like he's set to depart on a loan only. We had the up and downs yesterday, or the whole is this going to happen? Because if you think yesterday we had Newcastle in talks in the morning with Strand Larsen thinking, are they going to put a third bid in? Like, surely this will get done. And then Ornstein dropped that in the morning, didn't he? Saying Strand Larsen politely informed Wolves of his wish to make the Newcastle move, but the Wolves chairman said it's not possible and no new bids would be accepted. And you were thinking, God, this is back to the drawing board for the Geordies after striker 27 or whatever number it was, roughly. You were thinking, like, this is just absolutely ridiculous. We go again, thinking, come on, time is ticking. Get Visser done, get something else, And it was thinking, where are we going with this? And then all of a sudden, this just broke yesterday afternoon, didn't it? That this giant 7'9" Wolfgang guy, that werewolf thing, looking that Newcastle have got, and everyone was like, "What? Who?" All of a sudden, but Craig Hope had it in the afternoon, didn't he? That Newcastle, all of a sudden, sources from Germany said they were closing in on a deal, and then literally about 6-ish, you got Ornstein dropping it, and you got the Romano. Here we go. Agreement in place. Nick Walter made to Newcastle after official bid accepted. The fee over 80 million euros plus add-ons. Medical in England in the next 24 hours, with travel being arranged right now. Long-term deal agreed with him. And all of a sudden it was like, yeah, this accelerated quickly. They got the deal done. He was on the plane already. He landed last night, going to do his medical tomorrow. And in fact, they want to do the medical, what is now today, so they can have him in the squad for Leeds. And all of a sudden we start to think, how the heck did Newcastle just decide to get organised all of a sudden so quickly? Maybe a deadline can do magical things to people. So that just accelerated rapido. And then what we really cared about was, hold on, and there's a few has started to report Newcastle still want to sign Visser from Brentford. There's Keith Downey, the Sky Sports who covers them. They're not going to sign Voltemade and Strand Larsen. This is where sexy time came in because we knew what it really meant. Liverpool are now expected to come in with a Premier League record second offer for Alexander Isak, and the striker will get his wish. The dominoes are falling. And this was after reports that it all came out. They had that quote-unquote summit, didn't they? The Newcastle owners, the agent, Isak, where he made it clear, I am not coming back. I have no interest in playing for you again. Hence, the chain of events that we saw unfold yesterday. So then you're starting to get excited, aren't you? And thinking like, as we're probably hoping for today, drop that second bid. Fabrizio was there on his YouTube, wasn't he, late last night? Liverpool are ready to go all in and bid again for Alexander Isak as the player's stance has never changed. Isak only wants Liverpool, and if Newcastle decide to open doors after Voltemade, plus one more striker also expected to join, Liverpool are ready. Now, I'm going to be honest. I think Voltemade will be, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, whatever, will be enough because they got their big name. We're all just waiting now, like, for the dopamine hit, aren't we, of that second bid to land on the table. And Sasha got in the mix, didn't he, as he tweeted. And this figure won't go away, if you notice that. That is the one that keeps getting repeated. Paul Joyce also had it in his article with Matt Hardy, I think, in the Times, that 130 million. Now, Paul Joyce did say, we're on 20 million, but with a package 130 million. But Sasha tweeted, didn't he, late last night, Liverpool are expected to submit 130 million bid to Newcastle in the coming hours. Newcastle, with Eddie Howe's approval, have informed both Isak's camp and the Reds board that a deal could now be reached. Then that replacement has been secured. Because it's all come down to this. Newcastle needed to give the green light. The Reds wouldn't, quote unquote, bid without encouragement. That was the other phrase that kept coming up at the same time, wasn't it? It's time to get excited. You are. I mean, it would be great if it landed today, remembering as well that they love a Friday, Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards. And we've obviously got to wait for this big 7-foot guy to get signed for Newcastle. So then, and do that. But even if their bid just dropped tonight, and in fact, just because of the way it's worked, me and Trev have scheduled a transfer show for 6:30 tonight. Because, of course, it's got to be done, hasn't it, with everything that's going on. And there's even further developments, which we'll talk about at the same time. Now, speaking of other players, because there'll be plenty of time and we will talk more and more and more about Alexander Isak, Mark Guehi. Now, this has always had that feel of he was always going to play the Thursday second leg Conference League qualifier for Palace and then go from there. And Glasner talked about him on Channel 5 last night, weren't they? And said, this was before the game. Glasner said, it's very important. I'm speaking to Mark almost every day. And it was clear he would play this game in Norway. And then let's see what will come. But I know that I can rely on Mark and count on him. Yeah, you can. Guehi's very respectful, adores Crystal Palace. But that is different from what Glasner was saying a few days ago, of course, wasn't it? Where he made the flippant thing, well, if he goes, I'll have to get boots on, etc. And then, one thing to just note on this, I've not seen Palace sort of sign a replacement yet. That's important. They were linked with a Kanji, but that seems to have gone quiet. So that maybe is just one thing to keep an eye on for this. But the way it is rolling, I think you'd be surprised if both of these weren't done, which, if Isak and Guehi do land, is a hell of a pointed end and an uptick to that transfer window, isn't it, as well? We'll have to see what happens. Now, I've not got it on screen, but just want to talk Harvey Elliott as well, because Lewis Steele actually said yesterday it's more likely that Harvey Elliott stays than goes now. The only thing I'm just wondering is obviously with the Isak thing and this situation, and also this morning, Tottenham agreed a deal with Red Bull Leipzig for Xavi Simons. that he's had his medical, and that's expected to be confirmed at some point today. So Red Bull Leipzig, who have been linked with Harvey Elliott, have just been fortified by obviously the 70-odd million that United have given them. But also, it's around the suggestion 70 million, a similar amount for Xavi Simons as well. I just get the feeling Harvey Elliott will make that move to Red Bull Leipzig, just in terms of his best interests, and especially in the nicest way. If Isak and Guehi come in as expected, the attacking options are well stacked, aren't they? We will see, of course, but another one to keep an eye on, because that pays a good chunk of the Isak fee at the same time as well. We will have to see it. But I can see some coming in. I see some putting in the chat panel like, what's the news? Because someone shouted at me the other day because I didn't recap it. So just for those that missed it, Liverpool had their Champions League draw yesterday. Real at home, Inter away, Atletico Madrid at home, Eintracht away, PSV at home, Marseille away, Karabag at home, Galatasaray away. A real mixed draw, as we said. Arne Slot, who will be at the AXA at 9 o'clock, called it challenging and exciting. He's going to be asked about players. The only thing to call out from Arne Slot's press conference I didn't mention earlier, let's just hope we get good news on Alexis McAllister for this weekend. In terms of existing players, Dutch journalists, no British journalists, are suggesting that Cody Gakpo could be on the verge of signing a new contract. We'll see if anything develops on that. It seems pretty certain that Kostas Tsimikas is set to leave Liverpool on a loan with no option to Roma beckons. We're probably expecting that to get confirmed at some point. Newcastle failed for the 60 millionth time for Strand Larsen, but it looks like finally they are being successful with this giant Wolfgang dude, and he will come through the door, which ultimately means for us the second bid, and we would love that to drop at some point today. The dominoes are falling, as Keith Downey puts there. Let's hope everyone gets their wish. Fabrizio's hoping it happens, or expecting it to happen, I should say, at some point. Sasha's already gone on it to jump on board. And then Mark Guehi. Now that game's finished, there was a bit of a change of tone from Glasner. I think everyone's expecting that to happen before Monday, 7 p.m. at the same time. And again, Harvey Elliott, now that Xavi Simons is headed to Tottenham. Yeah. It has the makings of a brilliant Friday, doesn't it? What a weekend it could be. And it's obviously pointed with a Super Sunday against Arsenal, 4:30 at Anfield. I have absolutely no doubt we will be speaking again in the near future, people? What a day. Remember, as I said, got a transfer show later on, 6:30 today. You've got Arne Slot's press conference at 9 a.m. Me and Bart's did a transfer market metrics special again on Isak Guehi. Other options, that we didn't talk. We'll see if there's any chance of a third. Maybe we're just being super greedy. Who knows? But we talked about that. There will be all the usual content, rivalry cons, it all, that will come out at the same time. It's just exciting and a real chance, a real expectation of a brilliant end to this transfer window, isn't it? No two ways about it. But Friday, the favourite day for Richard and Michael, the 29th of August, that was another news round